I want to begin with something that sounds on the surface like a spiritual platitude, like something you might find on a motivational poster or hear in a self help seminar delivered with great enthusiasm and very little substance. Everything you want is already inside you. I am aware that it sounds like that. And I want to ask you to stay with me past the first instinct to file it under things that sound nice but do not mean anything. Because Gabor Maté spent 50 years making this claim, not as spiritual encouragement, not as positive thinking, not as a shortcut to manifestation or instant gratification, but as a precise, clinical, neuroscientifically grounded observation about the specific relationship between the authentic self and what human beings actually need in order to experience genuine well-being, genuine connection, and genuine purpose. The claim is not that the external things you desire will materialize through the power of internal belief. It is something simultaneously more modest and more radical than that. It is that the specific qualities of experience that your desires are actually pointing toward, the sense of genuine worth, the experience of real connection, the feeling of genuine purpose, the specific quality of being fully alive in your own life, those qualities are not contingent on the arrival of any external circumstance. They are already present in you as the authentic self, waiting not to be created, but to be accessed, not to be earned, but to be uncovered, not to be achieved, but to be inhabited. And the reason most people do not experience them, the reason the pursuit of external things continues decade after decade without producing the interior experience those things were supposed to deliver, is not that the external things have not arrived yet. It is that the internal access has been blocked by something specific, by something understandable, by something that Gabor Maté spent his entire career documenting, describing, and helping people find their way through. Today I want to give you the complete account of what is blocking access to what you actually want and what genuinely opening that access requires. If something in that reframe already feels important, if you have sensed, even dimly, that what you have been pursuing outside of yourself was always pointing towards something you were carrying all along, drop 777 in the comments right now. 777. The frequency of the person who's ready to stop looking in the wrong place. When you type 777, you are saying, I am ready to understand what I have actually been looking for and where it actually lives. Type 777 and let us go into the full truth of it together. Let me begin with the foundational distinction that makes everything else in this conversation make sense. Gabor Maté distinguished consistently and carefully between two different categories of human wanting. The first category he called authentic desire, the specific longings that arise from the genuine self, from the actual, original, pre-adaptive person that arrived in the world before the world began its work of shaping and conditioning and requiring. These desires are not arbitrary. They are not random preferences assembled through exposure and social influence. They are the authentic self's knowledge of what it genuinely requires in order to be fully alive. Genuine connection, meaningful contribution, the experience of being truly seen, the freedom to express what is actually present, the sense of moving in a direction that is genuinely, personally, irreplaceably yours. The second category he called compensatory wanting, the reaching for external things that is not really about those things at all, but about the management of a specific interior lack, the specific absence created when the authentic self's genuine desires were not adequately met in the developmental period, and the person learned as an entirely predictable adaptation to seek substitutes, to reach for achievement when what was wanted was inherent worth, to accumulate when what was needed was security that no accumulation can provide, to pursue recognition when what was sought was the genuine experience of being seen, rather than simply being seen performing. The critical difference between these two categories is not in the external thing being pursued, it is in what the pursuit is actually organized around. Authentic desire, when it is pursued and met, produces genuine satisfaction, the specific, settling, inward warmth of a person who has received something that their genuine self actually required. Compensatory wanting, however successfully pursued, produces only the temporary relief of anxiety management, never the genuine satisfaction it was promising, because the genuine self's actual need was never addressed. Gabor Maté observed this distinction in patient after patient across condition after condition. The person who had achieved every externally measurable marker of success and remained, in the privacy of their own experience, inexplicably empty. Not because the achievements were not real, but because what they were achieved in the service of was never the authentic desire, the genuine need for inherent worth and genuine connection, but always the compensatory substitute that promised to deliver those things without requiring the deeper, more vulnerable, more personally costly work of actually accessing them. Now I want to give you the 7 specific things that are blocking your access to what you actually want, and the specific understanding that begins to open each one. The first block: you have been pursuing the symbol rather than the substance. Every authentic desire generates a specific symbol, a specific external representation of what the interior experience would feel like. Worth becomes money or status. Connection becomes the right relationship or the right social position. Purpose becomes the right career or the right achievement. These symbols are not meaningless. In many cases, they genuinely correlate with the experience they represent, but they are never equivalent to it. Gabor Maté observed that people who have been pursuing symbols for long enough gradually lose conscious contact with the interior experience the symbol was representing. They pursue money without a clear felt sense of what security would actually feel like from the inside. They pursue recognition without a clear felt sense of what genuinely being seen would actually feel like in the body. They pursue the relationship without a clear felt sense of what genuine connection, as distinct from proximity or commitment, actually produces in a nervous system. And when the symbol arrives and the interior experience does not follow, the conclusion most people draw is not that they were pursuing the wrong thing. It is that they have not yet pursued enough of it, that the money needs to be more, that the recognition needs to be wider, that the relationship needs to be different. The work that opens access to what is actually wanted begins with recovering the interior felt sense, the specific, embodied, genuine quality of the experience the symbol was pointing toward. Not the achievement of the symbol, but the genuine question: what would this feel like from the inside if I actually had it? And does anything in my actual current experience already point toward that feeling, even faintly? The second block: your unconscious does not believe the want is available to you. This is perhaps the most consistent finding across Gabor Maté's clinical work. The authentic desire is present. The conscious mind endorses the pursuit. And below both of those, in a specific territory of the unconscious, a deeply embedded belief, established in the developmental period, confirmed by accumulated experience, operating below the level of conscious awareness, says, "This is not for someone like you." Not in those words. The unconscious does not use words in the way the conscious mind does. It uses the specific felt quality of a future that does not quite feel real. The specific embodied sense that the desired experience belongs to other people's lives rather than your own. The specific automatic generation of reasons why the timing is wrong, or the conditions are not yet right, or you are not yet sufficient to deserve what you most want. Gabor Maté was precise about where this belief originates. It is almost always the direct product of early experience. The child whose desires were consistently not met learns, at the level of the nervous system, that their desires are not dependably available in the world. That wanting something does not reliably produce receiving it. and that the most efficient management of the gap between wanting and receiving is to reduce the expectation, to want less, to be realistic, to not risk the specific pain of genuine hoping followed by genuine disappointment. That learned reduction of expectation, that unconscious belief in the unavailability of genuine satisfaction, is one of the most significant blocks between the person and what they actually want. And it cannot be addressed through affirmation or visualization or willpower, because it does not live at the level of conscious intention. It lives in a felt sense, in the body, in a specific quality of aliveness that diminishes when the authentic desire is approached and is not there, or is there but smaller than it might be when the person moves away from it. The third block: the wanting has been shaped by the wound rather than the self. Gabor Maté made a distinction that I think is one of the most practically useful things in his entire body of work. He distinguished between what the authentic self genuinely desires and what the wound desires. The wound's desires are always organized around the specific lack the wound created, not the genuine need, but the specific compensation for the unmet need. The wound that was created by insufficient acknowledgement desires constant external recognition. The wound that was created by chronic insecurity desires the accumulation of whatever the nervous system has decided represents safety. The wound that was created by insufficient attunement desires relationships organized around being perpetually seen and attended to in a specific way the original attunement failed to provide. None of these wound desires, when pursued and achieved, produce genuine satisfaction, because the wound's desire is always a substitute for a genuine need that the substitute cannot actually address. And the pursuit of the substitute, however successful, simply confirms the unconscious belief that genuine satisfaction is unavailable, because the substitute genuinely cannot provide it. The work here requires the specific honesty of asking, is this thing I want something that my genuine self would want in a life that was functioning well? Or is it something that my wound wants as compensation for something my genuine self never received? The fourth block: you have conflated access with achievement. Gabor Maté observed that the cultural equation of deserving with achieving runs so deep in most people raised in contemporary achievement-oriented cultures that it operates as an almost invisible assumption. Genuine access to what you want must be earned through sufficient prior achievement. You must work hard enough, improve enough, heal enough, achieve enough before genuine access to genuine well-being is permitted. This equation is the precise mechanism that keeps access blocked indefinitely, because it locates the genuine experience, the genuine worth, the genuine connection, the genuine aliveness in a future conditional state that is always one more achievement away. And in doing so, it prevents access to the genuine experience in the present moment, where it is actually available. Gabor Maté was explicit that genuine worth, genuine connection, and genuine aliveness are not post-achievement states. They are the natural condition of the authentic self when it is not blocked. They do not need to be earned. They need to be unblocked. And the work of unblocking them is almost entirely different from the work of achieving them, because blocking and achieving operate in completely opposite directions. Achievement moves outward toward the world in the service of demonstrating value. Unblocking moves inward toward the authentic self in a direction of recovering access to a value that was always already present. The fifth block: genuine access requires a vulnerability that the self has learned to avoid. Accessing what you genuinely want, the genuine worth, the genuine connection, the genuine aliveness, requires a specific quality of openness that the self learned, very often at a young age, to protect against. Because these experiences, when genuinely accessed, make you genuinely available to loss, to the specific risk that what is genuinely precious can be genuinely taken away, that genuine connection can be genuinely broken, that genuine aliveness exposes you to the full range of what being alive actually contains, including the parts that are genuinely painful. The defended self manages this risk by maintaining a slight but crucial distance from what is genuinely wanted. Pursuing it, yes, but never fully arriving at it, never fully opening to it, never allowing it to land completely in the body and the nervous system as the full, unguarded, genuinely received experience of something genuinely precious. Gabor Maté observed that this defensive distance is one of the most consistent sources of the interior emptiness that drives the continued pursuit of external things. The person who never fully arrives at what they most want, who perpetually approaches it and perpetually maintains the slight distance that feels like protection, experiences the specific chronic hollowness of someone who is always almost there and never quite present to the actual experience of arrival. The sixth block. The relational context required for genuine access has been insufficient. Gabor Maté was insistent throughout his career that genuine psychological and emotional experience is inherently relational. The human nervous system develops in relationship and continues to require relationship for its most important processes of regulation, integration, and genuine access to the full range of what it is capable of experiencing. This means that some of what blocks access to what you genuinely want is not individual at all, it is relational. The specific quality of genuine, safe, mutually attuned connection that allows the nervous system to fully open, to feel genuinely safe enough to access the vulnerable interior experience of what is most genuinely wanted, may simply not have been sufficiently available. In childhood, or in adult relationships, or in a general quality of the relational environment that has surrounded the person across the course of their life. This does not mean that individual work is insufficient or irrelevant, but it does mean that some of what you've been trying to access alone requires the specific quality of relational presence that genuine access actually depends on. And building that relational context, finding or creating the specific quality of genuine, safe, mutually attuned connection is not a luxury or an addition to the work. It is in many cases the work itself. The seventh block, and this is the one Gabor Maté considered most fundamental of all, the most important, the one that, when it is genuinely addressed, creates the conditions in which all the others become workable. You have not yet fully believed that what you genuinely want is what you genuinely deserve, not as an intellectual position, as a felt, embodied, genuinely held sense of entitlement, in the healthiest sense of that word, to the specific experiences that your authentic self genuinely requires, to genuine worth, to genuine connection, to genuine aliveness in your own life, to the full, undefended, unhurried experience of being genuinely present to what is actually good in the actual life you're actually living. Gabor Maté traced this specific absence of genuine entitlement to the same source as all the other blocks, the specific developmental experience of having genuine needs be met with insufficiency, inconsistency, or the specific requirement that the self be other than what it genuinely was in order to receive what it needed. And he was equally clear about what genuine access requires in response, not the performance of deservingness, not the achievement of sufficient evidence that you are worthy of what you want, but the genuine, vulnerable, often frightening act of simply deciding, without sufficient prior evidence, without external permission, without waiting for the circumstances to confirm it first, that you are, as you are, in this moment, genuinely deserving of what your authentic self genuinely requires. That decision cannot be made once and then completed. It is made repeatedly in the small and ordinary moments of daily life, every time the old belief reasserts itself and the new one is required to meet it. Every time the genuine desire surfaces and the old reflex to defer or minimize or explain it away is noticed and gently, repeatedly set aside in favor of a different response, the response of the person who has finally, genuinely, understood that the privilege of a lifetime is not the achievement of what you want. It is the recovery of the access to what was always already yours. And the privilege of a lifetime, the one Gabor Maté pointed toward across 50 years of sitting with human beings at the full, honest depth of their most unguarded experience, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, not the achieving version. Not the version that has finally earned sufficient access, but who you truly are, in the full, genuine, unhurried, completely available reality of the authentic self that has been waiting with the extraordinary patience of something that knows it is real for the moment when you would finally, fully turn toward it and discover that everything you have been looking for was never somewhere else. It was always here, in you, waiting.